Hey, this is Doug Field along with my co-host Brent Macy, and welcome back to the final segment of Healthcare Consumers Radio. And joining us to talk about one of the most talked about topics in the industry, private exchanges, is Scott Carver, president and co-founder of PlanSource. Scott, good morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm good. It seems like we just talked to you a day or so ago, didn't we?
It's funny how our paths cross continuously in this industry.
Scott, we got caught in your Colorado snowstorm yesterday driving to the airport. What an experience.
Well, just wait another 5 minutes and it'll be sunny and 70.
Yeah, that's right. Well, Scott, give her you obviously have developed several companies, and PlanSource is really known in the benefit admin space, and you're becoming a leader in the private exchange space. Give our audience a little background on PlanSource, if you would, please.
Well, PlanSource was originally incubated to meet what we thought was a pretty significant demand for technology solutions to manage benefit programs in the small and medium-sized business segment. In my previous companies, we had really focused on the enterprise level segment, but as technology progressed, we saw an opportunity to kind of extend that level of functionality and sophistication into the lower end of the market, and so that's kind of where we planted our roots, if you will. And as the healthcare landscape changed with ACA and, of course, rising healthcare costs, our business, a natural extension of that was to begin to manage these marketplace models along with defined contribution type of funding schemes. So as we started to see the emergence of private exchanges and public exchanges, quite frankly, we viewed that as really just a natural extension of what we were doing already, but it was to add some more consumer-centric tools to the application to make it a more sustainable or more relevant experience for consumers who are shopping in a marketplace. So it's really been, as I said, a very natural extension of what we do, and kind of speaks to our core competency, not only within PlanSource, but in some of the previous businesses that we had built and since exited.
Scott, when you look at the employers out there, what's the adoption rate you're seeing amongst the private exchanges and employers moving their employee populations to these platforms?
I think adoption right now is what I would characterize as modest. But I will say that you can't talk to an employer or a benefit advisor in this space without that concept being at the forefront of their planning or their strategic thinking. So there's a lot of employers who are looking at the model, trying to understand what the value proposition might be for them, how it might fit with their long-term strategy around benefit and healthcare delivery to their employees. So it's at the tip of everyone's tongue. I think what we'll see is we'll see more dramatic adoption occur in Q4 of this year with January 1 effective dates, and then probably a much more significant ramp in 2015 and beyond.
Yes. We kind of see the same thing in the research that we do, is that broad majority of employers are looking. Many are waiting to see kind of the success rates coming out from the early adopters that have jumped in. What do you see happening with the broker-advisor community and their embracing of the private exchange model?
I think the ones who are more forward-thinking are really viewing this as an opportunity to start to create separation from their competitors. I think many of them view it as an opportunity to create some distinction in their brand. Many of them are building or adopting their own private exchange models, or being able to deliver a marketplace experience to their customers and get more creative in how their customers might fund benefits. You know, I talk to benefit advisors every day, and every one of them tells me that they have never been busier.
That's great.
and it's because of this, you know, kind of this opportunity that sits in front of everybody and trying to figure out what it means for them. So I think they view it as a potential opportunity to really build their business and their brand. Yeah. Now, commissions are being compressed, healthcare commissions, but when you think about a marketplace, it provides an opportunity for folks to maybe extend more products, more lines of coverage, more relevant services to the employees of their customer base. So
and
there's
an increased revenue stream, right? I mean,
exactly. They can diversify their revenue stream and increase it at the same time.
I'm sorry, Brent. I heard something interesting this morning about comes back to broker advisors, and I think it's relevant. It says if you don't embrace exchanges at least and talk to your employer client about them, somebody else is going to.
You are precisely right.
Yeah. Scott, when looking at the private exchanges right now from an employer's perspective, that's a big shift for them because that's a whole new different delivery mechanism. But talk a little to the employee consumer. What does it mean to us as the employees who are going to be going in and having to utilize these platforms?
Well, that's a great question because I think the consumer or the employee is probably the one who's most impacted with this shift, particularly if the employer is going to adopt a pure defined contribution model to fund it, because now the onus and responsibility is placed on the consumer's shoulder to figure out what plans are best for them and how they should build a portfolio that meets their health and wealth needs. And consumers in the past have been pampered in many respects because the employers funded most of the benefits. They've had a very limited portfolio, and so choice has been quite limited. They kind of got what they got, right? So now they're going to walk into a store and see a lot of store shelves with a lot of different products on it, and they have to figure out what's best for them and their family. And so the burden on the employer or the sponsor of the marketplace or the exchange is going to be, how do I educate these consumers so that they feel good about what they've purchased, that it's a personalized experience, and creates long-term stickiness around the product sets that sit in the marketplace.
Yeah, you can't just open the door and say, go shopping, can you?
Exactly.
Scott, when you look, these platforms, the private exchanges, they're going to function a lot differently than what we saw with the public rollout, correct? I mean, it's not going to be the nightmare experience that you saw with healthcare.gov, right?
Well, I certainly hope not. I think the advantage that the private sector shares relative to building exchanges is the people who were involved in that process have grown up in this business, and so they understand the intricacies of managing either a marketplace or a portfolio of benefits. They understand the benefits and healthcare ecosystem and who the stakeholders are and the various dependencies that exist on data that flows through and transactions that are processed and decisions that are made. So, when I think about what happened in the public sector, we had firms and parties who were contracted by these government organizations that really didn't have a background in this business, and so they were learning as they went along. And for those of us who exist in the private sector who have been doing this for a number of years, we know where those landmines are and are able to, address those on the front end and hopefully, deliver a much more efficient, streamlined, and successful launch. And we experienced that with the state of Utah exchange that we launched. We brought that particular exchange up in about 4.5 months. And it was really because of our background. We knew how to do it. We knew where the pitfalls were, and we could guide the customer correctly in how they rolled that out. And as a result, it launched very, very successful. And that was a public exchange, but managed by somebody in the private sector who had a background in it.
Yeah, excellent. Hey, Scott, time flies when we're having fun, and I've enjoyed having you on the program. We've got about a minute to go and want to give you an opportunity to leave our audience with some key takeaways from PlanSource.
Well, I think the key takeaway is that private exchanges, or at least the exchange model, is happening, as you said before, that this is not a time to put your head in the sand. There is a value proposition that these models do provide. Our company sits right in the middle. As I said, we do have an expertise in being able to manage these things. So if people are interested in pursuing that model, we're certainly a viable option for them to consider. So I appreciate being on the show today, and look forward to doing it again possibly sometime.
Yeah, glad to have you, Scott. Enjoy your weekend in Colorado. And to our audience, you can visit the PlanSource team at IHC Forum and Expo on May 7th through 9th. Scott, have a great weekend. To our audience, have a great weekend. And we'll see everyone next week on Healthcare Consumerism Radio.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to this segment of Healthcare Consumerism Radio. And as we mentioned in the News and Views segment here, we've actually got Jim Preby, who's the COO at Bloom Health, joining us on this segment to really talk about private exchanges and the emergence of specialty benefit offerings. Jim, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great today. How about yourself?
Oh, good. So you're in the wild, wild west of the private exchange market. How's it feeling?
Feeling good, and it does feel at times a little bit like the Wild Wild West, but keeps us definitely on our toes, and we're really excited about the things that we're doing at Bloom, and where the market's going.
Now, Jim, tell our audience a little bit about Bloom Health.
Yeah, so Bloom Health, our focus is around the consumer, and we really look for the consumer to provide information, educate, gain that trust and confidence in Bloom that they feel good about the benefit elections they're making, not only for their medical products, but for any types of specialty or ancillary products, and really thinking about how they view benefits in totality and making sure that we can help that consumer. That's our primary focus.
Now, Jim, in today's market, what are employers looking for when it comes to their employee benefit offerings?
Yeah, at Bloom, we're finding today employers are looking for a few things when it comes to their company-sponsored benefit options. It's really, one, to improve predictability and control when it comes to the cost of their programs. Also to provide their employees with an attractive benefits model that enhances employee retention, and really reduce the burden of HR staff and increase employee knowledge and know-how when it comes to selection of benefits.
Now, when we see in this marketplace, and as kind of exchanges were really taken off a few years ago, you had a lot of debate back and forth. Was it going to be kind of the Costco model, where you kind of stock the shelves with everything and allow the employee population to come in and shop for their benefits, or was it going to be a scaled down approach in terms of the exchange? And I think there's both models that are emerging out there, but if you look at the products that are going to sit inside of these exchanges, what's the benefit of more products or less products sitting in these exchanges from a specialty benefit standpoint?
Yeah, from a specialty standpoint, that's a good question. The marketplace is really experiencing a lot of rapid growth and a lot of interest from employers, and like you mentioned earlier, the Wild Wild West. But what we're finding is that as we continue to evolve, we need to be able to have a broad set of products that really meet the range of consumer needs. Mm-hmm. And as we think about those specialty products, it's important to make sure that those specialty products work with their core medical products, and sometimes supplementing or providing areas of gap protection inside those medical plans, looking at it as a totality of package so we're really looking at and saying that it doesn't make sense to have wide open, a la carte, here you pick what you need, because what we really focus on, again, is the consumers. And right now it's educating and trusting them that how all of those specialty products work in totality with their benefit package is really important. And at the same time, kind of expanding capabilities and increase the offerings around that as we think about the growing demands in employers and employees. But right now we don't think it's a big, wide shelf of those products. It's a more narrow set that actually fits the consumer needs, with variety within those products to be able to expand both from a cost and coverage perspective.
Now, Jim, when you look at what the employee consumers are their buying habits are on these exchanges that that are out there, whether it's your exchange or others out there, some of the talk has been that the employee consumer is buying down in terms of benefits. Is that whether it's buying an HSA with a high deductible, is that really the value to have that specialty, that robust specialty benefit offering and the communication of where those fit? You'd mentioned filling gaps in care, but is that the importance of these specialty benefits?
I would say that's not the key driver of the need to have the specialty. I think there's two pieces to why the specialty products are critical to have in the exchange environment. And I think it goes back to one point I made earlier around, why we're doing this, what employers are looking for. And one of them is around HR simplification. At Bloom, we bring a curated product shelf to an employer. So we allow HR to focus on the things that help them retain employees and train and educate, and things that they really want to work in the HR field to do, not compare plan documents and read those things. So one of it is just focusing on HR simplification and bringing a set of products that within an exchange environment, an employee can go enroll and select a variety of different benefits and meet those needs, and not have to have different places to go select a dental plan versus a vision plan and a life and disability over a medical. So that's one of them. And then two is an aspect of how employees view their benefits. And we're really moving at Bloom in a direction that brings a benefit package mindset to the employee, not just a single election of a medical plan, a dental plan, and a vision plan. How do those things work together based on that core medical plan that's so important that you purchase and have? What are those needs you need beyond that? And then what other needs do you need in life to protect you either financially or where you're going, or plan or save for health care into the future?
Now, Jim, when you talked about the simplification process, when you're looking to work with these specialty benefit carriers, how do you work with them to identify what are the right benefit offerings to really offer to that employee population?
Yeah, so one is really we focus on market feedback. We worked with the carriers to understand what set of products would both cover the market needs and then fit Bloom's unique user experience, something we do different than anyone else in the private exchange space. And then we start to really innovate and push the envelope on relevant products to make sure they work in an exchange environment. So we really take into consideration a lot of feedback, both from brokers, agents out in the marketplace, employers, consumers, carrier data and feedback, and then take that all together and design products. And we like to think of it as putting a product family out in front of someone that's going to meet the needs of the varying populations they have in their organization within a carrier environment. And so that's really the process we go through there.
Now, for the audience out there, if you are a carrier out there listening to this, what's kind of the ramp up to get the offering onto your exchange or to the employer's exchange that they would like to offer? What's the implementation process to get that product there?
Yeah, so we don't. We have a process. Well, we don't just go out and work with every carrier. Our goal is to partner with a handful of carriers that understand the concept behind exchange, know that it's not about just putting out the Costco model and just stocking the shelf with a bunch of products and hoping someone purchases those products. So we're we're working closely with our partners and those carriers that want to be partners with Bloom, and still very interested in talking to more carriers around that. But the process takes anywhere from, I'd say, 90 days to 120 days, and it really depends on the product sets that they want to make available and how those work within the exchange environment.
Now, when you look at these, all the partnerships you're creating with these carriers out there, how is that impacting the employer and that employee population?
Yeah. So by combining those new specialty products and carrier relationships with expanded administrative capabilities around those, employers are now able to obtain their benefits, administration, and private insurance exchange through one really sophisticated technology that provides a single consumer enrollment experience and streamlined tools for the employer. We bring all that together for both the consumer and the employer.
Now, if you look from a communication education standpoint, what's been the feedback from your book of business on the education and the communication that's needed to really make sure that everybody understands the shift that's been made to this exchange?
Yeah, so we, as I mentioned earlier, our focus is around those consumers and, giving them a trusted advisor. And we have data that we do a lot of surveying and things around the consumers interact with us. And in a recent survey of our population, 92% of people interacted with an advisor at Bloom Health said that their advisor went above and beyond, and that's critical. So we spend the time, we spend the energy and the resources to make sure that consumers feel comfortable and have that trusted component in there as they make these important benefit decisions.
Now, kind of going back to the specialty benefits that are going to be offered on these exchanges, you mentioned some of them, the dental, the vision, and some of those other components. Do you see other offerings emerging down the road as private exchanges continue to get their legs behind them?
Absolutely. So, we've recently added and continue to expand around the products you mentioned, life, disability, supplemental products. We also have ongoing dialogue with employers, with others out there in the marketplace to how do we expand that. Sometimes those are going to be insurance products and sometimes those are going to be services. The important aspect of that is, though, those have to be products and services that are relevant for consumers and for employers. It's not just about having something out there that isn't relevant, but make sure that it's relevant and it ties to the overall value of a benefits offering and what consumers really want and need in the marketplace.
Now, if you were to look into your crystal ball and say, there's a lot of projections out there on the number of people that will be enrolled in private exchanges, between now and 2018, kind of what's your opinion? Where do you see the market moving?
Yeah, we're really excited, and there's a lot of great information out on the market growth. I would tell you that we're really excited to see the market take off. We think the mid-market, the larger markets are going to start to adopt in greater fashion here in the upcoming year. It's really taken off. There's a lot of interest. We're excited. We really see those predictions holding and coming true and potentially exceeding them.
Now, Jim, we got about a minute left, and just want to let you kind of leave our audience with one good takeaway on what they should be looking at when it comes to kind of your topic on private exchanges and the emergence of specialty benefit offerings.
Yeah, I would tell you that one of the things that's really important as you think about Bloom Health and the things that are going on is that offering of a full integrated employer solution for all benefit-eligible populations with insurance and non-insurance consumer products that are relevant, point in time, that makes sense from a consumer perspective, really focusing on that consumer relationship and how we enhance not only that consumer relationship, but how we simplify that HR process and really bring together the health plans, the insurance companies, the agents, the brokers, and the employer in a new world and a new way to explore and really buy benefits from a consumer perspective and employer perspective that makes sense and get those benefits in the right capacity at the right time at the right point in a consumer's life.
Hey, Jim, we really appreciate having you on the program today. We'd love to have you back at some point to kind of get updated on where you guys are and where you see the market at a later date. So have a great weekend up there. And to the rest of our audience, stay tuned for the next segment of Healthcare Consumerism Radio.